In creating the perfect world, every need is met. Food is endless. Water never runs out. There are no predators, no diseases, and no danger hiding around the corner. It sounds like the ultimate dream. Yet one of the most unsettling scientific experiments ever conducted proved that paradise alone may not be enough to keep a society alive. Back in 1968, American researcher John Calhoun created what he believed was the ideal habitat for mice. The enclosure was carefully designed with comfortable nesting areas, a stable climate, spotless living conditions, and an unlimited supply of food and water. Only 8 healthy mice were introduced into this carefully controlled environment, 4 males and 4 females. His goal was simple but profound. Discover what happens when survival is no longer a challenge. Perhaps comfort is only one ingredient of a meaningful life. When every obstacle disappears, the question shifts from, how do we survive, to, why do we keep moving forward? Sometimes purpose grows in places where effort is required. If you've ever wondered whether an easy life automatically leads to happiness, comment 1. Calhoun wasn't new to this question. For nearly 20 years, he had built similar environments for rodents in forests, barns, and laboratories. Again and again, the results followed an unsettling pattern. Populations expanded rapidly. Social behavior became unstable. Conflict increased. Relationships broke down. And eventually, the colonies disappeared. Universe 25 was intended to be the experiment that removed every possible objection. The habitat itself measured roughly 9 feet by 9 feet and featured apartment-like nesting spaces connected by climbing tunnels. Automatic food dispensers never emptied, and fresh water was always available. According to Calhoun's calculations, the enclosure could comfortably support nearly 3,800 mice. For the first several months, everything appeared normal. The original mice explored their surroundings, established sleeping areas, and adapted to their new home. Then, the first litters arrived, and the population began growing at an astonishing pace, doubling approximately every 55 days. By the time more than 600 mice occupied the enclosure, the social balance began to shift in unexpected ways. Growth alone isn't always a sign of progress. A community can become larger while quietly losing the invisible connections that make it strong. Numbers tell one story, but relationships often tell another. In the wild, young mice facing crowded conditions naturally leave in search of new territory. That option did not exist inside Universe 25. Every corner was enclosed. There was nowhere else to build a future. Many young males gradually gathered in the center of the habitat. Instead of competing for territory or seeking mates, they drifted through life without direction. They had no meaningful role to claim and little motivation to defend themselves. Even when attacked, many barely reacted. They would endure the assault, move away, and settle down again, as though nothing had happened. Not every male responded the same way. Another group became unusually aggressive. They ignored traditional courtship behavior, invaded nests, challenged established males, and behaved with constant restlessness. Their actions seemed driven more by chaos than purpose, creating further instability throughout the colony. When people or animals lose a sense of belonging, their responses can move toward opposite extremes. Some withdraw completely, while others create conflict simply to feel something. Both reactions may come from the same hidden source: a lack of purpose. The females also began changing. Those unable to secure a stable place within the social structure retreated to the highest nesting areas, isolating themselves from the rest of the colony. Many stopped interacting with males altogether, and reproduction steadily declined. Calhoun also noticed another surprising behavior. Although food was available everywhere, the mice repeatedly crowded around only a handful of feeding stations. Plenty of untouched food remained elsewhere, but many refused to eat unless surrounded by others. Crowding became concentrated in specific locations, while large portions of the habitat remained almost empty. This reminds us that behavior isn't always guided by logic. Even when opportunities are equally available, habits, social pressure, and instinct can lead entire groups toward the same crowded path, while countless alternatives remain ignored. As conditions continued to deteriorate, the mothers faced overwhelming pressure. Defending a nest required constant vigilance because territorial males were becoming exhausted and increasingly ineffective. Many mothers were forced to protect their young alone while trying to care for them at the same time. Under relentless stress, maternal behavior began breaking down. Some mothers abandoned their babies in random parts of the enclosure. Others no longer recognized their own offspring. In the most disturbing cases, mothers attacked or even consumed their young. Survival rates for newborn mice collapsed, with only a small fraction reaching adulthood in some parts of the colony. Calhoun later reflected that, although the mice were still physically alive, the social structure that held the colony together had effectively disappeared. The bodies remained, but the invisible system that allowed healthy life to continue had already fallen apart. The young mice that managed to survive entered adulthood, carrying something they had never experienced before: a complete absence of healthy social examples. They had grown up in an environment where nurturing had faded and meaningful interaction had nearly vanished. As they matured, an entirely new pattern emerged. Many of the males refused to compete, defend territory, or pursue mates. They showed almost no interest in social life. Instead, they devoted their days to eating, sleeping, and endlessly grooming themselves. Their coats remained spotless because they never fought or took risks. They moved through the colony as though every other mouse simply didn't exist. Calhoun gave these animals a memorable name: the Beautiful Ones. On the outside, they appeared healthier than any other mice in the enclosure. But beneath that polished appearance was a complete withdrawal from life itself. They no longer reproduced, built relationships, or contributed to the future of the colony. Having grown up with every meaningful position already occupied, they quietly abandoned participation altogether. It's possible to look successful on the outside while feeling disconnected on the inside. A polished appearance can never replace purpose, responsibility, or genuine human connection. Real fulfillment comes from engaging with life, not avoiding it. If this idea makes you see success differently, comment too. By the 560th day, the colony reached its highest population, about 2,200 mice. Surprisingly, that number never increased again. Reproduction slowed dramatically until the final successful birth occurred around day 920. After that, not a single new generation arrived. The remaining mice simply grew older. The Beautiful Ones continued their endless routines of grooming and isolation. The females who had withdrawn stayed hidden in the upper nesting areas. Occasional violence still appeared, but it no longer served any purpose. One after another, the aging mice died, leaving no descendants behind. Finally, on May 23, 1973, nearly 5 years after the experiment began, the last mouse in Universe 25 died. Calhoun later described what happened as 2 separate deaths. The first was not physical at all. It was the death of spirit, purpose, and social identity. Only much later did the physical body follow. Sometimes collapse begins long before anyone notices it. Communities often weaken quietly from the inside, while everything still appears normal on the surface. By the time the visible signs arrive, the deeper damage may have already been done. When Calhoun published his findings, many people drew an immediate conclusion. They believed the experiment proved that comfort itself was dangerous. Endless abundance, they argued, inevitably leads to decline. The image of the beautiful ones became a powerful symbol for anyone warning about the problems of modern society. Politicians, religious leaders, city planners, and cultural critics all found their own interpretation in the experiment. To many observers, the message seemed obvious. Remove hardship, and society destroys itself. But that wasn't actually Calhoun's main conclusion. According to his own writing, the true problem wasn't unlimited comfort. It was the disappearance of meaningful social roles. He argued that if the number of individuals capable of contributing becomes greater than the number of valuable roles available, instability naturally follows. Without opportunities to participate, individuals lose direction. The strongest males had nothing left worth defending. Mothers carried impossible burdens alone. Young mice inherited a world where every role had already been filled. The invisible framework that gave each animal a reason to belong slowly dissolved. Food never disappeared. Water never disappeared. Safety never disappeared. What disappeared was purpose. Purpose gives structure to life in ways comfort never can. Challenges are not always enemies. Sometimes they are the very things that reveal who we are capable of becoming. If you've ever felt that having a purpose matters more than having everything, comment 3. One detail from Calhoun's work is often overlooked. He was not predicting humanity's inevitable downfall. In fact, he spent the remainder of his career searching for ways to prevent exactly that outcome. He continued building new experimental environments, adjusting conditions each time, convinced there had to be a way for a thriving society to survive even in abundance. His hope rested on one powerful idea. As physical space becomes more crowded, humanity doesn't have to remain limited by physical roles. Instead, people can continue expanding into new intellectual, creative, and social spaces. He called this process ideational generativity, the ability to create entirely new purposes, opportunities, and ways of contributing rather than competing for the same limited roles. Every generation has the opportunity to invent work that never existed before, solve problems no one has faced, and build communities around ideas instead of territory. Human beings possess imagination, and imagination constantly creates room for new meaning. That belief is what separated Calhoun's vision from the fate of the mice. Universe 25 still stands as one of history's most thought-provoking experiments. 8 mice entered what seemed like a flawless paradise. Less than 5 years later, the colony had vanished without disease, starvation, or predators ever threatening it. The mice were trapped by the limits of their world. We are not. Every day offers another chance to create purpose, strengthen relationships, and build roles that make life meaningful, not only for ourselves, but for everyone who comes after us. If this story gave you a new perspective on what truly makes a society thrive, comment 4.